Hey guys, what's up? Today I'll be showing you 10 of the most epic JRPG boss battles ever. But I won't be covering final bosses or secret optional bosses, only story bosses. And since there's a tremendously big number of epic boss fights in JRPGs out there, this will have to be a series of videos. So welcome to part 1 and let's begin. Number 10, Dora in Grey from Dragon Quest XI. Visually speaking, this boss is amazing. I mean, just look how awesome she looks and how beautifully bizarre the setting for the battle is. Dora isn't all that relevant to the plot, but it's also an epic battle for another reason other than these badass graphics you're seeing. She has a very interesting background. Her lore takes us to the aftermath of the hero Earthwind, where her painting was brought to an ancient kingdom. Anybody mesmerized by this painting gets swallowed up to another dimension so Dora can feed on their soul. I don't know about you, but that's pretty dark for a Dragon Quest game, which is one of the reasons why I love this boss battle. Of course, our heroes get drawn into the painting as well and end up fighting her to put a stop to her curse once and for all. This game has many epic boss battles, man, in my opinion, but the first one that always comes to mind is Dora. This battle was just that memorable for me. Number 9, Raido Kusunoha in Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. Many of you will pick Dante from Devil May Cry, am I right? Yes, that's an epic boss fight if you're a big fan of DMC, of course. Plus, the music theme was badass, so it's a close second to my pick for this video. I'm a big fan of Raido Kusunoha and his 2 games on the PS2, so when I learned that the remaster of Nocturne will feature this guy instead of Dante, you can only imagine how epic it felt. Even more so when I saw that damn cat talking and Raido appearing in front of my character. What an awesome battle! Seeing these 2 cool characters fighting each other out was a fan service dream come true. In fact, Nocturne got a few revisions in Japan when it first came out, one of them being called Maniacs Chronicle Edition. Dante was gone from this one, replaced by Raido, who had now his own little series of games. We never got that version, but I'm damn glad Atlus decided to use the Raido portion of that version for their remaster. Sorry Dante fans, but I'm staying with this version. It may not be as epic as the super ultra hard optional boss in Digital Devil Saga, which is actually the Demi-Fiend himself, but I'd say it's a close second. Or you know what, first, since I said this video wouldn't include optional bosses. Number 8, Oceanus from Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. Or is it Oceanus? Oceanus? Whatever. This is the cracking bastard that sinks your ship at the beginning of the game. After noticing that Adol and the rest of the crew are stuck in the island, everyone realizes they will never be able to leave as long as this monster keeps roaming around. So can you imagine how the story slowly starts building up the tension up until this moment? No, don't worry, it's not the final boss, far from it. But it's a very story important boss, mainly because it's its damn fault that the entire plot in this game exists. Without it, there is no plot, simple as that. The battle itself takes place in the ocean. Your characters obviously have an accessory equipped so they can breathe and move around underwater. All this while the rest of the crew are under Dogi's command on the surface, trying to fight the monsters while revolting. It's such an epic moment when you see everyone gathered up there, putting their faith and hope in Adol and Dana. Fighting deep in the ocean is also very beautiful and a unique experience, which only adds to the awesome factor of this game. Definitely the most epic boss battle here, besides the final boss, of course. Number 7, Odin from Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria. The events after this battle entitle One Supreme Plot Twist, so in order to understand why this fight is so epic, you need to play the game and see for yourself. It also helps a lot to play the first Valkyrie profile for some background. You'd understand how cool it is to face Lennet's boss in this second entry. You fight him twice in a row, only with a cutscene in between. Unfortunately, the layout of the battle is weird, but it can be greatly used to your advantage. It can get in the way sometimes, sure, however, you can use it for a breather if things get too tough. It's not one of the toughest bosses in the game, but his Soul Crush can be pretty devastating if you're under-leveled or, well, under-equipped. Plus, it's awesome to watch, to be honest. Without spoiling too much, let's just say that Odin doesn't have a lot of presence in this sequel, and that makes his surprise entry as a boss much more epic. I honestly wasn't expecting this guy to show up as a boss when I first played this game, and like I said, it also connects to one of the several plot twists this masterpiece has to offer, making the battle all the more legendary. Number 6. Arianrhod from Trails of Cold Steel 3. Arianrhod is a legend that everyone and their mom keeps mentioning and praising throughout the Trails series. She's also the leader of these 3 annoying female knights that you fight multiple times in the games. However, when you finally face her for the first time in Cold Steel 3, alongside her 3 disciples, it's such an epic moment full of excitement, especially because one special character joins you, one very powerful badass warrior that you were probably waiting for during the Cold Steel games. That's right, Aurelia Le Guin. Yet another character the game speaks wonders about at every chance, the Golden Rakshasa. Allegedly one of the most powerful women in the world, so can you imagine not only seeing, but playing the battle between these 2 super legendary women? This is such an awesome fight, so train hard before it and get ready to participate in one of the most epic moments in the entire Cold Steel saga. Hell, of the entire Trails saga. And yes, you fight her again in Trails of Cold Steel 4, but I found this one to be way more epic because it's the first time, and with Aurelia in your party, man. Number 5. Maxwell from Tales of Exilia. Explaining why this battle is so epic story-wise is a huge spoiler that elaborates on perhaps the biggest plot twist of the game, so I won't say anything, but that statement alone should be more than enough to justify why I put this boss battle here. That's right, once you fight Maxwell in Tales of Exilia, you finally learn the truth about almost everything in the game. The battle itself is also quite epic, not only visually appealing but quite challenging as well. I always think that fighting a boss this hard makes the player feel like they've earned a greatly written scene, hence why it's epic. Sometimes we fight very hard story bosses and they give us nothing plot-wise or something almost irrelevant. That's why they're so frustrating. Not when you fight bosses like Maxwell, cause everything that happens before and after is worth your time and anger. This is definitely the most epic battle in the game for me, and that is not the final boss, of course. You'll probably agree, especially if you're a big fan of Mila. Number 4. Jack of Hearts from Nier. If there's one thing most people can agree with whether they like this game or not, is how unique its bosses are. And yes, this boss also appears in the remaster of Nier Replicant with the brother as the protagonist. The Shades finally decide to invade the village where your main character and his daughter live. Leading the invasion is this huge monster simply called Jack. The battle is epic because you have to fight it all over town, but also because it is the final boss of the first arc of the game. The music during this battle is so good and fitting, it only adds to its relentless momentum, and the events that occur around it are amongst the most memorable in the game. Once you start debilitating its arms, it'll regenerate them, meaning the bastard is pretty much immortal. Along comes Kaine with a super badass entrance to make some real damage. Then she joins you to fight together against it. Just when you think everything is over and the creature is dead, its head respawns inside the library where you need to fight it once again. This is where Kaine makes her legendary speech against the Grimoire Vice, the same one you hear at the opening of the game. The events that follow here lead the first arc of Nier to its conclusion, and what happens afterwards is both tragic and epic. And that's why I picked this particular boss over any other in the game. Number 3, D and J from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'll use the same argument when I talked about Maxwell in Tales of Exillia. It is precisely because of plot reasons that this final confrontation against these two consoles is more than epic. It's tragic, it's tear-jerking, but it's also satisfying. First, because now you know you won't have to fight them ever again. And second, because of how stupidly hard it is. That's right, this is one of the hardest story bosses of the game, or at least that's how I felt it. It's also really long, but there's a reason why it is, and that is to make everything worth it after you beat it. First, you battle the two consoles separately, which in itself is challenging enough to make you realize you're in for a hell of a fight. Then they fuse and become this giant monster that quickly leaves an impression on you. The only thing I hate about this battle is that this asshole can heal himself, which makes the battle unnecessarily longer. But if you're on a decent level, it's beatable with patience and strategy. The music here is also a pleasure to behold, as it only builds up the tension to what will happen once it's over. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one hell of a game with many awesome boss fights, but this one takes the crown for me. Number 2, Luca Blight in Suikoden 2. So many epic boss battles in this game, and you bet your ass I'll add at least one more in part 2. But no other battle can surpass in epicness the largely anticipated Luca Blight fight. I won't spoil anything story-wise in case you haven't played this game. I don't even know why you haven't, by the way, but if that's the case, maybe wait for the upcoming remaster next year. Trust me, it'll be so much worth it. Anyway, the fight consists in 3 battles in a row, so you'll have to face him with 3 teams of characters, one led by Flick, one by Victor, and one by Ryu, the main character. Obviously, I suggest you bring over your best warriors, and if they're under-leveled, train them for a bit, equip them good, and hammer up their weapons. Yes, I know hammer up doesn't make any sense, I made it up and I don't care. Anyway, if it's too much trouble for you, I recommend having at least 2 or 3 badass fighters per team, but I feel at least Victor, Flick and Ryu must have the best equipment and level available at that point, especially Ryu for his duel with Luca after those 3 battles. He's one tough mofo, but he can be taken down with a little luck and endurance. Need I really explain why this battle is the most epic in the entire game, even more so than the final boss itself? Luca is one of the most popular and most memorable antagonists ever in the history of JRPGs. It's no wonder why it often appears on lists of the best villains. He is one evil bastard, so of course it feels awesome to take him down in this masterpiece of a game. Number 1. The Dragon God in Chrono Cross, also known as the Devourer of Time. This is a spoiler battle, so I'll refrain from elaborating on why it's so goddamn epic story-wise. Just know that when you arrive to face this creature, it'll be an unforgettable experience, definitely amongst the most memorable of the game. The battle theme used here is by far one of the best and most epic out there, and it perfectly blends in with the entire process of the fight. I say process because after several hits, the dragon will take you to an elemental setting of the world, where it'll be preferable to attack it with the opposite element. Rinse and repeat for every element until you're back at the same place you started the fight. That's when it'll become real nasty. I lost numerous times against it during this last phase, but everything you and your characters went through before this point makes it 100% worth it before, during and after fighting this battle. It's so memorable for its difficulty, its phase shifting, its incredible soundtrack, and its importance to the story. So I apologize for including a strong spoiler boss here, but damn man, it needed to be here, and on number 1, absolutely no less. It's the most epic JRPG boss battle I've ever experienced in my entire life. If you're expecting some honorable mentions, forget it. I'm saving a lot more epic JRPG boss battles for future episodes. This was part 1, so stay put for part 2 in the near future. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!